It's the Round Ball Rock Podcast, starring Dave Schilling, Walt Frazier, Bill Cartwright, Joey Devine, Harry Gallatin, Gerald Wilkins, Sean Keane, Marvin Webster, special guest, Bob Silverman, other special guest, Spencer Owen, Kenny Sears, special Patreons, John Lennon, thank you, John, Jarvis, thank you, Jarvis, Dan Matthews, I think he's Dave's brother from that band, musical guest, Sandfrog, and now the temporary host of Round Ball Rock, Joey Devine.
Hi, it's me, Joey Devine, your temporary host of the Round Ball Rock Podcast, and we are here, as always, with my very good friend, co-host, all-around swell guy, Sean Keane. Sean, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How are you, Joey?
Pretty good. I've gotten in 0 fights with Nate Silver over my controversial idea to start the NBA back up again, but only allow people who've had Spanish influenza play. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. I actually wanted to just cut little pox scabs off of people and expose them to every fan. It's basically like that deal where you have like a T-shirt on the seat for a special game. But that T-shirt has been infected with the pox.
I would also like to make an announcement about our podcast real quick, which is Vegas is no longer allowing people to bet on our show.
Yeah, that's
simply
true.
Because it's too good.
Yeah, I guess Vegas didn't realize that we don't do the show live.
Yeah, exactly. So, there goes all of our income. But
yeah, I know, it sucks. It sucks, dude. The economy's fucked.
We've got a huge, very long, but very good. This is one of our best episodes ever, I think, Sean.
I'm going to say that no one, look, there's been a lot of people stealing podcast premises out there in the world. This is not one anyone has ever done before.
Yeah, no, this is for sure. I think we are in a small group of people that have actually listened in its entirety to an entire JD and the Straight Shot album. Not being paid by James Dolan, I would say.
Well, so we've listened to that album 5 times combined.
Well, once I'm done editing this, it's going to be a lot longer.
Oh my god.
It's going to be a lot more. But what we did is we brought in our friends, Robert Silverman and Spencer Owen, and we listened to the latest JD and the Straight Shot album, and we review it track by track. But before we get to Spencer and Bob, I should just say some business off the top. Follow us on Twitter at RoundRockPod. Email us at roundrockpod@gmail.com. Call us on the phone at the number embedded in the description of the podcast. 5-star reviews, they help for some reason. I don't know why, but people keep saying that on other podcasts, and I am nothing if not. I don't want to be left out of the review train. And if you feel like supporting us monetarily for extra episodes every week, patreon.com/roundrockpod. In fact, I would recommend listening to this week because we finally checked in with what Brett and Randy of Slammed Up are doing.
Oh, yeah.
During the global pandemic.
It's not great what they're doing.
All right. Now, this is enough. Let's get to the episode, huh?
Yeah.
All right. In our special music episode of Round Ball Rock, we wanted to do something special, what with no basketball happening, and what the special thing we decided to do is torture two of our friends. Our first guest is writer, clown. You might know him from the Daily Beast, from being doxxed constantly by Barstool Sports. If you're from Manhattan, you might know him from the theater. It's everybody's favorite, Bob Silverman. Bob, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Honest, and thank you for I mentioned this also previously, but thank you for this hours worth of torture spent doing the appropriate research for today's subject, because it was, like when you've got like a hangnail or there's some kind of nagging injury, not enough to really debilitate you, but just unpleasant. And what you do is you start like pinching your hand or, sticking a tack into your thigh so you don't notice it anymore. So that's what this was like. I sort of ignored everything else for the hour while I was getting extremely mad preparing for the content.
I should also mention Bob. The way we're setting this up is Bob is our partial judge because he's a lifelong Knicks fan.
Yeah, which is its own torture.
And for our impartial judge, we have one of my favorite musicians in the whole world. His newest album, is Presentation by the Spencer Owen Timeshare. It's musician Spencer Owen. Spencer, how are you?
I'm doing spectacularly. Thank you so much for, listening to a new album is never actually a torturous experience for me. I have in my 20s, I had an insatiable thirst for, unquenchable, you might say, for listening to any new albums, even if they were bad. I just wanted to get the knowledge in the brain, and map it out. But, it's nice to be voluntarily forced to, be exposed to something like this, on assignment. It's I'll take any assignment basically of this nature, and this one was rich in its own way.
All right, and now we've been burying the lead a bit, but what we all did was we listened to Knicks owner James Dolan's band JD and the Straight Shots' newest all acoustic album called The Great Divide. I'm going to read the About section from the JD and the Straight Shot website right now.
Now, by the way, don't get confused with another album called The Great Divide by Scott Stapp, lead singer of Creed.
Oh, shit, I listened to the wrong album. Fuck.
All right, so this section of the website is called A Few Words About Us. Americana band JD and the Straight Shots new all-acoustic album called The Great Divide is out now. The band, vocalist/guitarist Jim Dolan, guitarist/vocalist/producer Mark Copley, B.B. King, Roseanne Cash, upright bassist banjoist Byron House, Robert Plant, Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton, violinist, fiddler, vocalist Aaron Slaver, Martina McBride, Rod Stewart, drummer, percussionist Sean Pelton, Sheryl Crow, Levon Helm, Saturday Night Live band, and guitarist vocalist.
Oof.
Fitting for this program, I must add.
Was G.E. Smith not available to join this rockin' band? Did he have prior commitment?
And guitarist/vocalist Carolyn Dawn Johnson, Miranda Lambert, Martina McBride, is comprised of friends whose joy in telling stories together.
Oh yeah, they're friends. That's why they formed this band.
These session musicians.
They're the best of pals.
Yeah. They like to go apple picking or any number of social activities when they're not being paid exorbitant amounts of money by the billionaire Knicks owner to grimly trudge after him around the company to poorly attended concerts backing up like the fucking Eagles and shit, man.
We're not even through the first sentence yet, but this is just, I just want to, if anyone hasn't read the Wikipedia page for JD and the Straight Shot, it's the best Wikipedia page on the Wikipedia website, I think.
Is comprised of friends whose joy in telling stories together shines through each sparkling track on The Great Divide. The album was recorded at Soundstage Studios in Nashville with Mark Copley, James Montgomery, Jess Klein, Konstantin Maroulis producing. Inspired by artists such as Fleetwood Mac, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Civil Wars, Jefferson Airplane, Three Dog Night.
Wait.
You can hear all these influences.
Like Civil Wars.
Yeah, I mean, you can. That's true.
You can. When they say Civil Wars, do they mean like the 1983 Philip Glass opera?
No, I thought of that too, but of course not.
I think they're inspired by like the music that plays while Shelby Foote reads a letter home by a guy who's having his foot amputated after Antietam.
They're inspired by the SB Nation parody General Andrew Luck Twitter account.
They're inspired by Fleetwood Mac and the existence of war.
Jefferson Airplane.
They're two main musical influences.
Jefferson Airplane, Three Dog Night, and the Yardbirds. JD and the Straight Shot delivers a sweet sound and strong songwriting mixed with the swagger of rock and roll.
Oh no, what's that?
Well, they told me, Bob, you probably shouldn't hurt your lily white college hands trying to play the blues, but I didn't listen to them.
The Great Divide boasts unforgettable hooks, soaring melodies, and powerful stories.
What have I gotten into? Oh my god.
The dynamic album springs to life with the foot-stomping The Great Divide title track that hopes to inspire people to engage in more conversations with those who may hold opinions different from their own.
Oh my god.
Ooh, does it?
Well, we're going to get to it, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole album is about the discourse. Capital T, capital D, but mainly the title track, which is just glimmering above the song that shall not be named yet.
The thumping, potent cadence and melodic layers of Dead Men Tell No Tales segues into It Must Be the Night with banjo-driven sounds of the Heartland.
I want to meet the dude who was hired to write this copy. I want to know, when he wrote this, was he given specific instructions, or did he just decide to troll James Dolan by sticking his tongue so far in his cheek it may have poked a hole in it?
Oh my god. The Heartland.
While Invisible offers
He means the Heartland Brewing Company. That's what they're referring to by the Heartland. They mean a chain restaurant.
That's right.
While Invisible offers lush tones and I Should Have Known features beautiful harmonies influenced by Simon and Garfunkel's iconic folk rock favorite, The Boxer.
That's definitely what I thought of when I heard this Harvey Weinstein song.
Yeah, I would say if that song features one thing, it's beautiful harmonies.
I would say also that much like The Boxer, Harvey Weinstein is something beloved by Lorne Michaels.
Well,
Bees shares a sensual sonic landscape of longing. Anything But Love is a tender tale of heartache. Take It Slow showcases sexy, syncopated rhythms.
No.
The rhythm of that song is one of the most upsetting things on the album.
While On a Wire gives moody vibes of wistful whimsy. JD and the Straight Shots cover of the Turtles' chart-topping 1967 hit Happy Together and the Allman Brothers Band instrumental favorite Jessica breathe an upbeat freshness and triumphant new vibrancy into the songs.
The triumphant new vibrancy into... Do they mean malfunctioning auto-tune? Is that what they were talking about? God.
No. Whoever was hired to write this is laughing even harder than any of us were. You were like, oh, you want some... You need an adjective? I got adjectives.
Triumphant vibrancy. Oh.
They don't mean anything, but I got them.
The Great Divide follows JD and the Straight Shots' highly acclaimed 2017 album, Good Luck and Good Night, that Roots music authority No Depression raves boasts, quote, exhilarating performances and luxurious blends of instrumentation, unquote. And Madness to Creation gushes, quote, is a masterful blend of songwriting, arrangements, musicianship, and harmony. All right, so now, before we get deep into this album, I wanted to go over a little bit of history, each of your history with James Dolan. So let's start with Bob.
Good idea, I think. That's a good idea.
What a bold choice.
Yeah. So I started writing about the Knicks on the internet in around the year 2010. And it was the wild west of blogging, let's say. And so for I was working in another actual full-time job, but because I was staying up late to watch Knicks games, like the idiot that I am, I just started writing about them, after watching a game from like 10 till sometimes 2 in the morning for fun. Mm-hmm. And I've written a lot of words about James Dolan, who has presided over literally the worst basketball team of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. I have called him all manner of names, and I think the phrase "sexual assault enabler" came up even before the Weinstein thing happened. For those who don't know, James, the Knicks fired a vice president who charged the team's president and general manager with sexually harassing her, and James Dolan was like, "No, fuck you. I'm standing by the guy who did the sexual harassing." And inevitably had to pay. They lost and had to pay $11.4 million after being found culpable of not just the general manager in question, but the actual entire company of being complicit in this act. And then, he's still, up until 2015, I don't think they've asked him about it lately, but up until 2015, his basic response when asked about this was like, yeah, she's lying still. Yeah, she's lying and made it up. Why would she do that? I don't know. I mean, he is a uniquely vile human being who inherited 2 sports teams and an arena from his wealthier, far more successful father. He is the definition of a fail son. He is a recovering addict who is constantly calling fans who criticize him drunks, which is pretty freaking telling, if you ask me. Yeah. He is thin-skinned and petty enough to throw fans out of the arena when they chant rude things at him.
Not just fans lately.
No, not just fans.
He threw Spike Lee out a few days ago.
He did. Spike Lee, the most beloved, the most diehard Knicks fan in existence, who by his own account has spent millions of dollars on season tickets.
More popular than any player with the Knicks.
Yes. And Spike Lee, who comes to every Knick game dressed like Dr. Teeth from The Muppet Show, but in Knicks colors. And legitimately goes around to his NBA friends and tries to recruit them to sign there as free agents and fails every time.
Makes free videos for them to try and recruit.
Made a fluff piece with Phil Jackson about the glory of the triangle offense. Yeah. That's how much of the Kool-Aid he's drunk. In any case.
And then they also, Spencer, arrested one of their most popular former players a few years ago.
Charles Oakley.
Holy shit.
Charles Oakley, universally beloved former Knick from the period when they were good before James Dolan owned the team, got dragged out of Madison Square Garden by 7 security guards, eventually put in handcuffs and charged. Madison Square Garden filed charges against him. Dolan again went on the Michael Kay show and said that Oakley had both substance abuse and anger management issues he needed to deal with. And basically every star in the NBA told him to go fuck himself. But Dolan, that is. He is it's really dumb to compare anyone to Donald Trump because Donald Trump is kind of sui generis, but he's a reasonable facsimile.
Yeah.
He is arrogant enough to think that he's smarter than everyone else, and so filled with narcissism that anyone challenging him is meets the entirety of his wrath. There was a security guard who asked to see his ID way back when, like 6 years ago, and he had her fired because she didn't immediately recognize him. He forced the Rockettes or to.
We're going to get to this. I think.
Inaugural.
Yeah. We're going to get to that.
All right, I've been ranting about Dolan for a while, but again, like he shares a great many traits with the current president, and would probably do about it as well. I think both the organizations would probably end up in the same place where their jobs swapped out for some reason. Anyway, I have a lot of hatred for Dolan that has nothing to do with him being the owner of the team that I like and the fact that he's made them bad. I find him a bad person.
I mean, I was going to say before you even brought up Donald Trump, I was just sitting here speechlessly soaking in this information. Before you even mentioned Trump, the phrase Dolan 2028 appeared in my brain. And it scared me, frankly. I got scared just sitting in my chair.
Spencer, I think you should also know that James Dolan is currently facing a lawsuit from shareholders of the Madison Square Garden Corporation because he pays himself too high a salary and is spending too much time working on JD and the Straight Shot. So there's a band that, in theory, will be costing him millions and millions of dollars.
If I were an MSG shareholder, I would say
the most
to him,
expensive vanity project.
I think he should. Yeah, he also, speaking of his band, on at least 3 occasions, he has thrown out patrons who have mentioned the Knicks during one of his concerts. One guy got thrown out for wearing a T-shirt that said "Sell the Knicks."
Yeah, at a Troubadour show that only had 12 people in attendance.
All right. So anyway, yeah, that's the short version of the James Dolan story and my experience with them.
So, Spencer, you are not a sports fan. Spencer, what did you know about James Dolan before getting into this?
I am a big fan, as are the hosts of this program, as I understand, of the comedy program, The Best Show with Tom Sharpling.
It's true.
Yeah. And as a fan of Sharplings, I have heard of this band. and I think that's the only way I would have heard of this band. That's my entire understanding of JD and the Straight Shot. I actually decided, other than the amazing Wikipedia page, which I have already mentioned, which I think is unbelievably savage, in a way that somehow is still allowed by the Wikipedia style guide. Like I look at the JD and the Straight Shot Wikipedia page, and I don't see any like bias, really. The only bias in it is like, I guess, the order of the sentences in it. But is that it? Like, it's just facts. It's just straight up facts that completely destroy the guy.
Go ahead, Bob.
Can I ask Spencer a quick question? Because this has been bothering me for a long time.
Yeah.
Why is it? Do you have any theories about why they're called the straight shot and not the straight shots?
I think
because
it sounds
like it seems unnecessarily like the singularization, as if they all band together to form a singular shot of Jack Daniels.
Yeah,
well, like a session musician Voltron or something. But it's always been like, just call them the straight shots. That's dumb.
Yeah, I think this JD and the straight shot has this kind of like he really wants to stand out. Like he wants to stand out is insane, is the insane thing about him and this project, from what I understand. Like they've made so many records. They've made 7 albums. Like, they've been together for 15 years. I don't know if it's the same people the whole time, but 15 years of making music. And the only difference I would say between James Dolan and Donald Trump in this regard is that, like, I don't think Donald Trump has, like, purposely taken in a complete work of art in decades. An album, a movie,
right?
Certainly, I don't even think I need to say the word book, but book.
There's a great story from a New Yorker profile of Donald Trump from, I believe it's 2009, but it might be 2004, where he is flying on a plane with a reporter, and Donald Trump Jr. is there, and they decide for fun to watch what evidently this is like a repeated viewing for them, the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
This may even be an older profile. This may be like 1997, and like a young Don Jr. is there. And Don Jr.'s job is to fast forward through all the boring parts of Bloodsport. Mm-hmm. So they just have the pure kumite experience of people kicking each other's ass. And all that God. And that's, so to speak to his attention span, the movie Bloodsport is drags like fucking War and Peace when it comes to the current president.
That may be the case, actually. I've never seen Bloodsport, so there might be some boring parts in Bloodsport, but I completely nonetheless, I think that can easily be extrapolated to the entire media diet of Donald Trump and his family. But I should also just say, in that regard, the one thing about Dolan that impresses me is that he does have some sort of artistic output. Like, he actually does have 7 albums. You can't argue with the fact that he has 7 albums, and he sings all the songs and apparently wrote them. Like, did he write these songs?
Yes.
That's amazing to me. I'm really impressed. Like that, and that's about where anything that can be construed as a compliment ends, I think, from me. But that's it. That's crazy.
You have to hand it to him. He really does love the music.
Yeah,
he sucks at it, but this is something he cares about quite deeply. And I wish he would just stop owning a basketball team and focused on his art.
I mean, he could make these records without the money, and honestly, I mean, they don't sound like they're made by the greatest session musicians on earth. They just don't. At least not this album.
No, these guys are clear. They've put many children and grandchildren through college on this gravy train. And I think after 15 years, they may have reached the phoning it in stage.
I mean, I've always said about my bandmates in Spencer and Timeshare that they're slumming it with me because they're all like better musicians than the material I give them. And I think that this is like that exploded that idea. That idea is just blown up with this.
James Dolan has
about the songwriting. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go for it. I'm just.
If you're curious about the songwriting process, Mark Copley says it goes all different ways. Sometimes we write solo, sometimes as a joke, as a group. Usually we all start jamming on it, and our frontman Jim sits down and writes the lyrics.
There you go. I got to say, speaking of that harmonica, I thought this was a blues rock
Me
band.
too. That's the first thing.
Absolutely, yes.
Everyone always calls it blues, and this is the least bluesy thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Me too.
I mean, there is at least one James Dolan track that involves a kazoo. We didn't even get that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Didn't he set the world record for people playing kazoo at the same time?
Yeah, he had 100 people on stage with him, and I'm pretty sure it was at Radio City Music Hall playing the kazoo when he rocked out at the venue he owns.
You know what? Fuck this guy. I've been sitting on it, but now it's time to say. Fuck.
I'll read the Wikipedia page, and then we'll get into this album track by track.
I'm so glad that you're doing this. Thank you.
Everyone buckle in. This is going to be a one.
JD and the Straight Shot is the country, blues, and roots rock vanity project of its frontman and guitarist. Cablevision Systems Corporation CEO and Madison Square Garden Company Executive Chairman James L. Dolan. Because of his corporate status and his friendship and business relationship with entertainment executive Irving Azoff, Dolan has been able to leverage JD and the Straight Shot onto shows by the Eagles, the Allman Brothers Band, ZZ Top, Jewel, Keith Urban, the Dixie Chicks, Joe Walsh, and Robert Randolph. Attendance yeah, go ahead.
Just pause for 1 second. I actually have an Irving Azoff anecdote here.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Back in 2014, I was trying to report out a story about the Knicks that I had from a single that I had that I wasn't able to confirm enough to get it into print, which is upsetting to me because it was a good blog. But I did manage to get Irving Azoff's email to ask him about this. And an editor asked at a site asked him for comment, and Irving Azoff spent 5 paragraphs questioning my integrity and my journalistic credentials for even daring to ask such a question. So he's got a tough skin, is what you're saying. Yeah. He got very, very mad on email at me for even broaching this subject. And in retrospect, it was probably too early to reach out to Azoff for comment for this story, or whether it was even necessary to reach out to him. But you know, I was a little green around the gills at that point. So lesson learned.
I love it. Good old Azoff.
Irving Azoff and James Dolan just sold the Forum in Los Angeles for $400 million, by the way.
You all know the story behind that as well, right?
I mean, it's just because James Dolan had a bunch of harassment lawsuits stopping the Clippers from building an arena, right? And he just bought his way out by. He also tried to bankroll a super unpopular Inglewood City Council candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and where all the donations came from James Dolan, and they got wiped out in that election.
And a non-existent grassroots campaign got formed to back the candidate, and everyone in the community was like, "Wait, this is bullshit. What the fuck is this? This has nothing to do with us." And,
so he's astroturfing too. I love this guy. He's cool.
And here's the best part: when the New York Daily News reported out this story, and he has a long history of being mad online at the New York Daily News. And by the way, that anger at the Daily News is quite present in the title track. He had, again, the geniuses running the New York Knicks PR Twitter account, the Knicks, mind you, for a story about him bankrolling a fake grassroots AstroTurf campaign and unpopular candidate in order to make sure that the Forum remained a viable venue and wasn't blown out of the water by this monstrosity that Ballmer is building. He had the Knicks Twitter account issue a denial, and then in the tweet posted 2 headshots from obscure Tronc employees with their name on it. who had nothing
Jesus
to do
Christ.
who had nothing to do with the story, just to fuck with them, just to be like, maybe these people will get harassed for this story.
So the mayoral candidate, Dolan spent $1 million and he got 18% of the vote.
I feel like that deserves a standing ovation.
Yeah, real kingmaker, this guy.
Attendance by Madison Square Garden staff employees, quote, is expected and noted, unquote, when the group plays at New York clubs.
There are so many words not spoken behind that noted there.
The group's song, Can't Make Tears, was on the soundtrack of the TV show Hell on Wheels on the cable channel AMC, which is controlled by Dolan and his family.
One other anecdote regarding the whole noting thing. For years, years ago, there was a story that came out. This is 2001 about the Knicks attending Bible study classes, and everyone thought it was going to be, or at least Dolan thought it was going to be a nice puff piece about the good Christian Knicks. And while they were discussing their Bible study habits, one of them on a Palm Pilot, just to give you an idea of what era we're talking about here, brought up some Bible verses. Two Knicks did this to basically insinuate that the Jews killed Christ.
Oh, right. Was that Charlie Ward?
That was Charlie Ward, former Florida State quarterback, and Allen Houston.
Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy winner. And Allen Houston, who currently serves as a high-ranking member of the Knicks front office. Mm-hmm. And in any case, this, according to sources, that was the thing that got Dolan incredibly mad at the press and turned them into his mortal enemy. So from then on, anytime there was an interview with a ball player and a reporter, a member of the Knicks PR team would be present and take notes, not just on what the player said, but on the kind of questions that the reporter was asking. I also know this because I wrote a story for Vice back in 2013 about the Knicks media policy, in which that has been described by one New York tabloid beat reporter as a gulag. And so I wrote the story. I talked to a bunch of the beat guys. I went to media day. I spoke to the head of public relations. And 5 minutes after the story was posted online, the head of public relations began texting around to various beat guys asking why they talked to me.
Whoa. Astonishing.
The group's music has also been featured in films including Hurricane Season, August Osage County, and Butter, all of which were produced by the Weinstein Company, a corporate business partner of Dolan's Madison Square Garden Company.
Can I say I would have led with August Osage County?
Yeah, really.
That's a beloved Horton picture. Play. Come on, yeah.
The group's fifth album, Ballyhoo, sold only 113 copies in the first 4 months after its January 2016 release.
And now I have to stop you there because knowing everything I know so far about James Dolan, I mean, Donald Trump Jr. got on the number one on the bestseller list from what? Buying his own fucking book or something? Why didn't this happen? For Ballyhoo.
Well, I want to ask you a question about album sales, Spencer.
Okay, I can't wait to be the foremost authority on.
But that's kind of my point. Like, you are not a billionaire. You are basically individually releasing your own albums, which are all very good, and everyone should buy it.
Yeah, they're really
fun. Thanks.
You've sold. Have you ever sold an album, sold more than 113 copies in 4 months?
You know what? I would say that sounds about like the most I would have sold because I don't market myself. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at marketing myself. I wait for people like Joey Devine to text me and say, "Do you want to be on my basketball podcast?" For me to say like, "Yeah, please. Can you mention my band? That would be great." That's pretty much how I market myself. So, 113 copies feels like a good number for a non-marketed person like me. I'm just astonished at that number just because I he was probably just thinking like, I mean, what do they say about the fifth month? Like, is that when the sales went up? Because again, like, he has to be buying his own shit. Like, why? I don't understand. I'm confused.
It's like in this particular situation. Yeah.
No, it's just I never thought that. Like, why didn't he juice his own album sales by buying them in bulk?
Why?
That seems like a serious oversight on his part.
It does, but he seems to be able to do anything similar. So why wouldn't he?
To me, it feels like he wants it to be organically popular.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like it's okay that he forces himself onto a touring bill with the Eagles because that's gonna lead to people authentically discovering the music.
Yeah, that's true.
But buying
the
albums himself, that would be cheating.
Like the opening act thing, he probably sees that as some sort of bootstraps like style story where he's like, well, we're gonna headline here someday, but we got to start somewhere.
We got to pay our dues.
Yeah, right.
And
so we're starting with opening for the Eagles.
Opening for the Eagles at Madison Square Garden.
The venue that I basically own.
Yeah. There's a kind of integrity there.
I think it's all like him standing out. Like again, like the straight shot thing. Like I don't know if I have the answer for why it's the straight shot instead of the straight shots, but I feel like the straight shots is a little more anonymous. And so I think all of this is about him trying to stand out as a musician. Like he really does want to.
The group's sixth album, Good Luck and Good Night, was released on September 15th, 2017. The New York Times has described the band as a group of, quote, well-known sidemen backing a karaoke-grade singer, unquote.
Oh, that left a mark.
Yeah, savage.
That's like
savage.
That's like pitchfork level mean.
Yep.
And noted that Dolan's, quote, musical talents are unlikely to endanger his day job, unquote. After the group's performance opening for ZZ Top, one reviewer wrote that Dolan's, quote, enthusiasm for playing mediocre American rock did little to make their forgettable performance entertaining, unquote.
I will say, literally nothing can threaten his day job, apparently.
No. Well, I mean, all right, look, just as a side note, for as bad as he is at his main job, in terms of making a good basketball team, the Knicks have been either the most profitable or the second most profitable team every year that they have that Forbes has come out with their rankings. Like TLDR, because he owns the cable network that broadcasts the Knicks. Like, as one economist explained it to me, like the Knicks only exist so that the Madison Square Garden network has programming. Mm-hmm. And bundled cable fees make up a huge chunk of Madison Square Garden network, the Madison Square Garden company's bottom line. Like, it is very, very difficult for him not to make money doing this the last 20 years. But he hasn't failed at that. So, he's profitable. Not to validate market capitalism or anything, but
certainly we're not here to do that.
No,
I mean, well, Roundball Rock kind of is here to do that. We do that a
lot. Look, we live in a society.
That is kind of
Well, I'm glad to hear where you guys stand politically.
Yeah, call me Joker. All right, after a 2017 show in New York City, another reviewer observed that Dolan, quote, sings like he's trying not to cough, and it's possible he can't play the guitar. Worse.
I'm going to say likely.
Worse, his songs belie his status as a cosplaying bluesman. Most of his lyrics simply summarize current events or books that he's read as if
savage Wikipedia page I've ever heard.
I'm telling you.
As if, books that he's read, as if he were presenting a 10th grade English class project, unquote. And
that's a high grade. That's a high grade. 10th is high.
Yeah, you gotta read like fucking Tristram Shandy in the 10th grade and shit. Try summarizing that, motherfucker.
And that is the last sentence in the JD and the Straight Shot.
I can't wait to talk about this record. Can we please talk about this record?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right, so there are 11 tracks, 2 covers. It ends on covers, which is really
honestly, it's yeah.
I would have maybe mixed some of the sugar to get the medicine to go down.
But you know what that is, though. I think about album track lists. I compare them to the live set list sometimes, as like, you know, kind of like sometimes an ideal album track list is similar to a live set, and I feel like it doesn't always, but sometimes, depending on the bands or artists. And I feel like with James Dolan, he's probably thinking of this like a live set, because if you're James Dolan, you close with the fucking covers. Mm-hmm. You do it.
Yeah, right.
You just do it, because if you leave them with an original, no one is happy. You got to end on something. You got to end on something. So I think that makes sense, at least if you're thinking of it as a set list. I don't know if that was the theory, but
we'll get to the 2 covers as we go through this. But let's start with the first track. It's the title track. It's called The Great Divide. And it is 100% about being a Trump supporter who lives in Manhattan.
Yep. Here are my notes. I took these notes. My notes aren't like super long, so I can just kind of go through all of them, I think, on each track. But I tried to cover all my most prominent thoughts about each song with these pithy comments.
Oh wait, let me play. Hold on, before we do that, I should play a
lick.
Yeah, I should play a segment of each of these songs. So,
I was wondering if you were going to do that.
Yeah, okay, I got to put them in post. But yes, here is a segment of the first track, The Great Divide.
I know you care and it feels unfair, but all this hate will never repair the Great Divide, and everybody's taking sides. Instead of closing it tighter, we're making it wider. The Great Divide, everybody thinks they're right. How can everyone be so sure when no one's got the cure? The Great Divide.
All right, Spencer, what are your thoughts?
I went back and noted that JD sounds like an untrained auto-tuned Willie Nelson. That was my kind of like summary of his general vocal performance throughout the record, starting with this song. But the very first thought, of course, is this The Chain by Fleetwood Mac? That's the immediate thought I had. And the lyrics are different in melody, so that's the only real difference in the verses from the song The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. And then the chorus came in and I was like, what is this, Amy Mann? I don't hate this, actually.
Oh no!
Wow.
Like the chorus, I should say, I'm not talking about the lyrics right now. I'm not talking about the lyrics. But musically, I was like, the chord changes in the first, like the first few chord changes in the chorus with the harmonies and stuff, I was like, this sounds kind of like a song Amy Mann would create in her sleep. Like, it's not the most unlistenable thing, and the song itself is a little bit catchy to me as well. That said, we do have to talk about the lyrics. And again, all these notes, I didn't know anything about James Dolan except his ownership of the Knicks and what was on this Wikipedia page that we just went through. So I had a sense of his character, but I don't know a lot about him, or I didn't. Now I do. And I wrote down both sides coverage. How can everyone be so sure when no one's got the cure? That's a line from the song.
It is, yeah.
From the chorus. And I wrote, what is this? The New York Times? Who is he? Maggie Haberman? Those are my complete notes on the title track.
So those are our unbiased music experts' notes. Bob, why don't you give us the Knicks fans' take on this song?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that because I don't subscribe to Spotify. First, I tried to borrow Joey's account, and that didn't work for some reason. He gave me the password and everything, but I couldn't figure it out. So then we realized that all these fine jams are available on YouTube. So I said, okay, well that's a lot easier. Let me just go rather than sign up for a trial Spotify account. And to listen to this song, I made the mistake of clicking on the official music video.
I have watched that as well.
I thought about doing that. I didn't do it.
After one video, I could not do that again. The thing is, like, it opens with him sort of swaying back and forth gently and doing the sort of white man's dance overbite thing. And that really that was an image I don't need to have in my brain. Like, he's biting with his top teeth on his lower lip, like his eyes are closed, and he's sort of gently swaying back and forth and rocking his hands. And that was just one of the, it was awful bad.
It's difficult to picture, even just picture.
Yeah. And again, like we got into this a little before, but this entire thing is him being pissed off at the tabloids calling him a dipshit for 20 years. The entire song is just like, well, if the tabloids call me a dipshit, and clearly I'm not, then I guess knowledge is not knowable. Who can say for sure?
See, I got that part, but I also, so much of this song to me is about, like, it's like both sidesism, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where it's like, you gotta hear both sides about why we should build a wall.
Yeah, right. It's like, on the one hand, some people are standing up for humanity. On the other hand, some people are standing up for something else.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like a weird plea for unity that is actually just a plea for people to stop being mad at him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not anything about like why people are good.
Right.
No, it's like, oh, we're just fighting. We're always fighting. And I definitely got a sense of the, I don't know if he mentions the press. I don't remember he mentioning the press in the lyrics, but he very well might.
He definitely does several times.
Yeah, because I definitely came away with a sense that he is talking about the press. And anyone who wants to write a song about the press's, inability to accurately, like the press at large, their inability to accurately portray a subject, there's definitely some ulterior motive to that message. Pretty much,
even if
100% of the time.
Even if fucking thought that was a decent subject for a fucking song, and you're not like, what's the guy who wrote the Made in the USA, the God Bless the USA song?
Lee Greenwood?
Yeah, Lee Greenwood could have written this song very easily.
Yeah, right.
The lyric that popped out to me though was, and this is directed at the press, won't say you're sorry, but you'll wish you had.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that one really stood out. That was some ominous blood vengeance type shit.
Oh, I'm going to have to listen to this song again. I missed that.
Sean, what are your feelings on The Great Divide?
So when I first heard it, I thought, this is one of the worst songs I've ever heard. This would definitely be the worst song on the album. I don't feel that way anymore. I think there's
you're right. It is not the worst song.
It is not the worst song.
And again, I was surprised it wasn't like the blues, and I think the way I described it, somebody hired a bunch of session musicians, but also watched the first 2 seasons of Justified, and not like the theme song, but just everything that like underlies just any moment when you're going to a moonshine place. Like that's the kind of like it's like a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
And that was the heart behind it. But this one just like it definitely was like he wrote this because his feelings were hurt because the Rockettes were mad at him.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes, I just have bad about fake news. Trump? Question mark? Those were my notes.
So, like Kid Rock could easily cover this track if he wanted to.
So, Bob, or no, Spencer. Sorry, Spencer. You said you graded each song. What grade did you give The Great Divide?
Yeah, now I'm now regretting doing this because I'm going to have to be honest and say what I actually graded the song. I graded it a B-.
I mean, this is graded on a curve. First off,
yeah. By the way, I did grade it on a curve, and that is the highest grade.
Oh, great!
Any track, no track is graded higher than B-, and this is a B-.
Bob,
I will say I found it like a little more offensive because of the quality of the musicianship and percussion. Like I found it more offensive because of that.
Yeah.
Sean, actually, let's do this. Sean, if this song were a famous New York Knicks fan, who would it be?
This song, a famous New York Knicks fan.
Because I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead. What's your answer?
It's Ethan Hawke.
I didn't see Blaze. Did anyone see Blaze?
No.
The Ethan Hawke directorial film.
I will one where like Ethan Hawke is a famous down on his luck country folk singer.
Yeah, I didn't see that movie though.
No,
but that feels right all of a sudden.
I guess if I had to pick someone, I would say Adam Sandler, but only his private text messages.
Bob, what New York Nick does this song most remind you of?
Oh God, this song reminds me of New York Knicks great Cole Aldrich. While not in any way a good basketball player, he's a guy who I actually thought, in my weird delusion, could be a valuable backup. Mm-hmm. Of course, there is like the account Boodum, which I recommend you follow on Twitter, put together an entire 2-minute mix of Cole Aldrich, lumbering 6'10", crew-cutted player out of Kansas, missing hook shots by like 2 feet, like not even coming close to the basket.
I also thought he would be good coming out of college. By the way, on this podcast, our former co-host Dave Schilling exclusively refers to him as Stone Cold Cole Aldrich.
By the way, if this song were a New York Knicks fan, I think it would be former Sopranos cast member Steve Sciarippa is my choice there.
All right, let's move on.
Just lumbering and fat, but somehow weirdly appealing.
Yeah, like sorta charming, sorta. Yeah. Like this song could for sure host the reboot of the Best Damn Sports Show. All right, let's move on to our second song. It's called Dead Men Tell No Tales, and here is a clip.
No lies spotted. That's true.
I've been collecting dead man's bones in my locker in the sea. He offered me a private tour. Now I wish I'd known. You better think before you drink with a man named David Jones.
All right, Spencer, let's go to you, our music expert. How did you feel about Dead Men Tell No Tales?
This song is definitely about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah.
And I thought that immediately, that ending of the Wikipedia page rang through my head as soon as this song came on, which just as a reminder, it says his lyrics simply summarize current events or books that he's read as if he were presenting a 10th grade English class project. But I that's what it is. It's got to be, right? He's talking about Davy Jones. I love the line, "He offered me a private tour." That's like a classic. That's a classic, like, I'm writing literature, like, through song kind of turn of phrase. Like, boring chorus. I got vibes of, like, Hank Williams III, but, like, approximately 1,000 times worse. Like, I really like Hank Williams III, actually. If anyone isn't familiar with Hank III, he's a maniac. He's a maniac. He's a metal drummer. He's like a death metal drummer, but he's also a songwriter and guitarist. And he's made everything from, like, straightforward, hard edge country rock to albums where he plays death metal drums to the sound of cattle auctioneers for 80 minutes straight. He's a complete nut job, but that's a tangent. He has made a pretty good record where he does kind of sea shanties and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like that, but way worse, like no personality. And of course, it's a classic way to start and end a song with, like, a plaintive, like, chorus with harmonies where they sing, "Dead men tell no tales, you see. That's why you've never heard of me."
Of me.
Just
and it's like
ghost story.
The ghost is singing at you, except I don't think he's really thought about the logic of this because if dead men do in fact tell no tales, what are we doing here? What is this first person narrative? Come on, James, get it together.
Any other notes on this, Spencer?
No, I don't know if you're waiting for my letter grade, but that's a C-.
Bob, what did you think of Dead Men Tell No Tales?
I just like to preface it again with the fact that I was watching this on YouTube. So before the track played, I got an ad for the Epic Times. Which, which, if you're unfamiliar, is an incredibly pro-MAGA newspaper.
Gosh, why would they think that was appropriate for a JD and the Straight Shot fan?
Yeah, well,
did you get a Shen Yun ad with your next one?
No, I didn't. But the Epic Times is also run by an obscure Chinese religious sect, and there's, like, basically they make some of their reporters live in shared housing, and it's literally the most insane one of the more insane and conspiratorial of the pro-MAGA actual newspapers. I think that I really don't think that was a JD and the Straight Shot specific ad. I think that's more indicative of my own be-shitted YouTube search history than anything else. The thing I kept thinking about, and I know it's not a direct one-to-one comparison, but every time this was playing, I kept thinking of the Hey Mr. Kennedy song from Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh yeah.
Except, like, there's no Adam Driver popping up and going, "Outer space." Which, if they'd had an Adam Driver type come in and go, "Dead Men Tales," it would have really picked up the whole thing.
Yeah, that does. It does have the vibe of a fake band when you think about it. Like it sounds like
they are like a fake band,
right? but they're not at the same time, which is crazy. Like JD and the Straight Shot could easily be like I feel like Blaze is based on a real person, so I'm not going to go with that one. But Crazy Heart.
I think it is. It's not Steve Earle. It's someone in the Steve Earle. It's someone who passed away recently. That was in there was a profile of Ethan Hawke in the New York Times that talked about this extensively. But yeah, I
think this band is like if Crazy Heart was like if we were living in the movie Crazy Heart. Mm-hmm. This is like that situation.
For my notes, this is the first song where I would say that I described the first 3 songs on this album as being if 90s Clapton were writing the theme song to Deadwood.
The acoustic stuff,
like my father's, like if my father's eyes was also the theme song to Deadwood.
That song is an A+ compared to all of these songs.
Of course, obviously.
Well, the other thing is that Eric Clapton has the decency to actually work with black musicians.
If I get off this call and immediately turn on "Change the World" by Eric Clapton, I'll be a happier person.
And then I just basically wrote just the word Davy Jones ? I do think it's like Sean, what are your notes on track 2, Dead Men Tell No Tales?
Well, first, the first thing I wrote down was just acapella !
Yeah, no good.
It felt very bold. For some reason, look, this is not the most offensive percussion on this album.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But once it started, I wrote down drums, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
And I did think it was about pirates, but you're completely right that it is about him seeing the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I
think it is.
Because otherwise it could have been directly inspired by The Ride, but it's not like any history or literature or a book. It is either the Disney World ride, because he doesn't go all the way to Disneyland. Yeah. But I think it's the movie. I think it's like he'd seen the movie, someone came up with this song, and he's like, guys, let me go with this.
I love it.
You heard Davy Jones.
You've heard about that bad man, Davy Jones.
He means Davy Jones from the Monkees. That's who he's referring to. I was really into the Monkees since I was a kid. I loved the Monkees.
The Monkees are good. That was
cool.
We all like the Monkees. So Spencer, you gave it a C-, right? Or was it a C+? All right.
No, C-.
Sean, what famous New York Knicks fan is the song Dead Men Tell No Tales?
Honestly, it's about the rare times that Jimmy Goldstein, NBA super.
See, I thought it was about Kevin Bacon. Because this song is very it's like a song the Bacon Brothers bands threw away. You know what I mean?
This is Kevin Bacon's.
I can say he's like Dead Men Tell No Tales. He's actually talking about Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, exactly.
This is about Kevin Bacon's role in the movie R.I.P.D.
Yeah. Bob.
Yes, I have seen R.I.P.D.
Bob, what New York Knicks player is Dead Men Tell No Tales?
For me, we're going to get a lot of bad Caucasian backup Knicks bigs in this. So just everyone gird your loins in that. For me, this is one of the players I hated the most during his 1 year in the Knicks, which is Jason Smith.
Uh-huh.
A stretch power forward who can't really shoot or defend at all.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of so useless. And it was I think there is an article, and I'm pretty sure it was a Vice one, where I described him as a walking economy-sized jar of expired mayonnaise.
He's apparently like a really notably nice teammate in the locker room.
I'm sure he
otherwise
is.
His career doesn't make any sense.
It lasted forever. People kept thinking like, oh well, this could be the year this like dude out of Fresno State puts it all together.
He's just proof that like if you're white and fast, you can stay in the NBA for a really long time. Because that was his only skill.
Shoot 3-pointers.
His only skill was that he was like pretty fast for a white guy.
And all the girls say I'm pretty fast for a white guy.
Yeah, he's a 33% 3-point shooter.
I wish you had played that on the harmonica, Bob. All right.
Give it to me, baby.
Track 3, It Must Be the Night. Or It Must Be Night. Sorry, not the night. It Must Be Night. Let's hear a little bit of that from JD and the Straight Shot.
As I had my day, now it must be night. It must be night.
All right, Spencer, on to you. Tell us about It Must Be Night.
I will be shocked if you guys have almost anything to say about this song. I wrote down really boring. Train beat, sure, why not? Another stupid chanting part. And I don't love it, I don't hate it, I don't like it. That's my feeling about this great song. It Must Be Night by JD
By the
and the
way,
Straight Shots.
I believe this is a Mark Copley solo songwriting effort.
Oh, good.
See, that makes a lot of sense to me because
I think that's why it's not
like,
that interesting, because I don't think James Dolan wrote the lyrics to this one.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It sounds like just some I wrote down the turn of phrase like I've had my day, now it must be night, and I was like, you know what? That is like the base level of cleverness that you would expect from like someone who's actually like studied lyric writing, like, but it's not good or interesting. It's just like it just lays there, you know, and it's like that's what happens when somebody who's a pro is brought like brings their like C grade material to the JD and the Straight Shot practice.
Bob, what did you think of It Must Be Night?
Yeah, this is when I started to stop listening to the songs all the way through. It's right around here.
You did not need to in this case.
Yeah, my only thought was I never want to hear about horny teenage James Dolan again in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. To me is not like him talking about his 15-year-old thirst was just unpleasant.
I wrote first inoffensive song ?
Yeah, exactly.
And also I was surprised that it took this long for the banjo to become prominent on one of these songs. This is the first
I feel like it had been
banjo.
working.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are songs where you're like, I feel like I should be hearing the banjo more on the first two, and then this one's real banjo forward. Sean, what did you think of It Must Be Night?
I found it really boring as well. And it was like, it makes a lot of sense that it is not a James Dolan original, because the description of something happening at night was not necessarily like inherently troubling. And this was the point where I gave up on there being actual blues on this album. I'm like, well, I guess it's just going to be about like the Starbucks coffee house Ozarks, like music to skin a possum to, you know, like that's what it.
Sean, what famous New York Knicks fan is It Must Be Night?
I'm going to send you guys a picture to chat right now.
I like art. That's good.
Explaining who this guy is, but is this going to work? Actually, hold on.
I'll go with mine while you're doing yours. Mine is Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria doing a very bad, very like borderline offensive accent.
Just like famous but not that famous, offensive but not that offensive. You know, never the most memorable thing in anything he's in. Hank Azaria.
I thought it was also like it would be a fake Knicks fan.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I went with was Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, I saw that too. Bob. Oh, sorry, Spencer, actually. What grade do you give Dead Man? Or It Must Be Night?
It Must Be Night gets a round C. Just like straight down the middle, C grade composition performance.
Bob, what Nick is It Must Be Night?
To me, this is New York Knicks backup power forward center for a couple of years, Lou Admonson.
Oh, yeah.
Great warrior.
Yeah. Quality warrior, quality Phoenix Sun, a hustle big with no discernible skills beyond the ability to grow a ponytail.
But it was a real tiny ponytail.
It was really more of a man bun.
Yeah.
He was a guy that definitely seemed like he was a Euro, but he's actually from like Los Angeles, I think.
Yeah. It was almost like a samurai haircut. Almost.
It's like a guy who like unironically says, "I studied the blade."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, time for track 4. And I have a lot to say about this one. Invisible! Let's hear that.
Put on that dress that looks so good on you. It's on my mind to have a time tonight with you. With you.
All right, let's start with Spencer. Spencer, please tell me what you thought of the, in my opinion, the worst song on the album, I think.
Wow, okay. So I can see exactly why you would say that, though it's not my pick for the worst song on the album. I think the reason why I wouldn't choose it as the worst song is because of my comment noted here. This could be musically simpler. Like... They didn't really, they kind of progged it up a little bit. Like, it's like to the most basic level, but still, like, there's some surprising chord and harmony changes, like, in the first, like, couple minutes of the song. It takes a weaving path, a winding path, melodically. That said, I also wrote it slips in and out of a sort of low-key psychedelic vibe.
It does. It has like a fake Beatlesy.
Yeah. Guys, you're jumping on my only like actual musical note because I wrote like, are they riffing off like mid-60s Beatles here? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, kind of. I wrote kind of like Fairport convention-y a little bit, like something like it sounds kind of like one of these British folk bands of the late 60s where like it was you were supposed to do something vaguely psychedelic, so you do it. But what I was surprised that language showed up anywhere on this record, considering what the first 3 tracks sounded like and what I thought I was going to get. He did sing the line, "Put on that dress that looks good on you," which is a horrifying thing to say.
And his fucking voice on this one. This one to me was where his voice first really becomes a detriment because it's also a love song.
I wrote that.
This is the first song that made me want to puke.
I wrote this singing style does not suit JD, and I also thought to myself, this has another, and Sean, I appreciate how often you were thinking about the drums on this record, because I wrote, this has another 90s style adult contemporary pop beat, which is like, it's such a classic group of autopilot session musicians thing to have this be what this sounds like. Like, this song can't pick a lane, for even 15 seconds, and like, because it's just kind of people playing what they just kind of cobbled something together on on assignment from the big man. It does not sound like the collective joy of a band that has been, great friends for decades or whatever the fuck That said, but I did think of Jefferson Airplane, not organically, but when you mentioned it in the press release, Jefferson Airplane came up, and that's definitely the song that they're talking about when they mentioned that.
Bob.
Yeah.
What? Oh, do you have any more, Spencer? Any more thoughts on this?
No,
Okay.
that's the music. That's the music.
What's the grade, Spence?
Well, no, we'll do that last. But
we'll do that later. Okay.
What did you think?
I got very bored listening to this, but I was just, the only thing I thought was, wait, is this the Beatles? Is that what this is here, or is it like? I have very few notes here aside from, is this the Beatles? And then I wrote down the lyric, "We own the night. Oh, go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
my notes for this one, I wrote love song, yuck.
Yeah.
Absolutely
it's
revolting.
It's like a sex song too, kind of.
Yeah. I also wrote absolutely revolting. His voice is fucking horrible. Ugh, sitar. And this is like a VH1 song from 1997. It reminded me of like a Sean Mullins song. I don't know if you remember that guy.
I do.
Yeah, he's the
yeah.
Everything's gonna be alright.
Yeah. It's
Sean.
no good. It's no good. It's like it sounds kind of like he's like it's like a love/sex song because it's like it's the telling of like a date. Like I guess he's going on a date because it starts with him telling her to put on a dress that looks good.
Yeah.
And then they do it, and then they become invisible together because they own the night. And it's like
they also are flying, I believe.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's fucking gross.
I have to tell you, upon second listen, I became convinced that this sexy song is actually about James Dolan just masturbating while watching a woman take off. And then I'm like, oh, that's why he's invisible. It's like, I don't know if it's a Louis C.K. situation or if he's hiding in a closet, but to me, this is like, maybe he's receiving like instructions from this woman on how to masturbate, but for me, this was definitely James Dolan. Like when he says in the second line, talks about making a mess. That was the point where I really wanted to throw up. I still did not find this the most disgusting sexual song on the album, and I would rate it only third worst.
James Dolan throughout the years has also, despite being loathed by pretty much every Knicks fan, he still goes and sits in the front row to watch the games a lot.
Yeah.
The most famous incident being like when, on a side note, there was a report that came out that years later turned out to be apocryphal that Kevin Garnett had said to Carmelo Anthony during a game to taunt him. He had said, "Your wife tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios." This story it turned out to be, but James Dolan was worried about this, and he decided that the only way to deal with, because it couldn't be proven, it was back and forth. Melo's wife evidently said it was not true.
Yeah,
but what James Dolan did was he hired a guy to sit in the stands holding a directional microphone. And this guy, you could clearly pick out in a Madison Square Garden crowd. He had like dyed black hair and a goatee, and was wearing like a black T-shirt and black jeans, and just sitting there in the down courtside, pointing a directional mic at Carmelo Anthony wherever he went, so that they could record any and all trash talk that he received.
Oh my God.
The other thing that James Dolan,
and
speaking
that
of
man was Mark Copley, guitarist, vocalist, producer of JD and the Straight Shot.
The other thing is that when he does sit courtside, James Dolan often likes to have very attractive young women by his side, like 50 years younger than him, 40 years younger than him women. James Dolan is not married, nor does he have a long-term girlfriend, at least that the tabloids.
Well, we're going to get into
noticed.
that. There's a reason for that he talks about on a song much later, but keep going.
Yeah, but like, for a while, I was like, there was a while I was kicking around and I was like, I want to interview the women who watched this game with James Dolan to ask them how they got there, what they felt about the experience, and how much they were possibly paid to do so. Like, there's at least one shot with Dolan watching the game next to post Tom Cruise Katie Holmes for some reason.
Oh my God!
Yeah, she shows up on the lists of celebrity Knicks fans sometimes purely because of that one photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think what you're trying to say is that what we're getting at here is you would ask one of these women how this evening went for them, and they would sort of pause thoughtfully and they'd say, have you ever listened to the song Invisible from the album The Great Divide by JD and the Straight Shot? It was kind of like that.
Absolutely.
I wish I had been invisible, honestly.
All right, Sean, which famous Knicks fan is the song Invisible? This, to me, is a no-brainer.
To me, it's Louis C.K., baby. Video of him and John Stark celebrating a J.R. Smith buzzer beater.
See, I had it as famous rock man himself and also noted sex addict, David Duchovny.
Oh.
This is the David Duchovny song.
Disturbingly good.
That's right, he is a big Knicks fan.
And Spencer, what grade did you give Invisible?
Oh, I gave this a C+, and that was before all of this wonderful context was given. So just keep that in mind.
And Bob,
yeah,
what famous Nick is the song Invisible?
Famous being a relative term. It's not it's tough. I don't think there's a Nick that is as disgustingly horny and uselessly. You know what I'm going to say? This song is Knicks player, not coach or owner or president, rather, Phil Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Player.
Yeah, Phil Jackson,
I see that.
the player. Phil Jackson as a player was it could also very well be Knicks head coach Derek Fisher, though. Phil Jackson for the 60s vibe, but for me it's Derek Fisher, who reportedly one of his failings as coach is that he would get distracted during the games by sending assistants to pass notes to the attractive women in the stands. And then in another incident was hooked up with the ex-wife of Matt Barnes, who then traveled to his ex-wife's home to try to beat the crap out of Derek Fisher.
Didn't he
By the way,
also...
this was during... He left Knicks training camp to do this.
Yes.
Yeah. And then didn't he also try and date a Knicks player's wife at one point? I believe that's true. That
was gossip. The gossip was that he was hooking up with Tim Hardaway Jr.'s ex.
Yeah,
That's the skinny, not confirmed. It also could be Knicks interim coach Kurt Rambis, who got busted for liking porn
on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right.
And claimed, and then Knicks PR, the brilliance that the fucking Dadaist brilliance of Knicks PR, publicly stated that Kurt Rambis' account had been hacked.
Yeah.
All right. Now we have to talk about it. I think this is going to be the one we're going to talk about the most, probably. We've talked about it on the show before. We've played this song in its entirety on the show before. It's track number 5, the Ode to Harvey Weinstein. I should have known. Here is a segment from that.
I should have known, I should have known, I should have thrown myself across his tracks, stopped him from these vile attacks. I should have known, we believed and didn't see through the lies he told us all that led him to his endless fall. I should have known, I should have known.
All right, Spencer. You had listened to this song before I told you it was about Harvey Weinstein. Do you want to?
Yes. No. I didn't know that it was about Harvey Weinstein when I listened to it. I didn't know that he had written a song about that. I guess I should have known.
I mean, why?
He did. He would do that. I mean, I have the lyrics here in front of me because it's the only song on the album that
I tried to find the lyrics for every track, and this is the only one with lyrics anywhere on the internet.
Which I can understand why, because on Genius.com it says, "This is James Dolan's musical apologia for his personal friendship with film producer Harvey Weinstein, which stretched back decades before the latter was widely accused of a pattern of sexual abuse during all that time. The song was released in August 2018 to widespread derision from music critics, sports writers, film industry analysts, and advocates for victims of sexual abuse." And all this is to say, here's what my notes say. "A famous guy with a lot of girls. Is this a hashtag Me Too song? Oh my God, it's about Harvey Weinstein, isn't it?" So I amazingly managed to come to that conclusion on my own. I'm very pleased with myself.
Well, I mean, usually these lyrics are pretty indirect from James Dolan.
Yeah, but
just lots of poetry and.
It's crazy what's going on with these lyrics. Like, it's really, really crazy. It's a song about how he should have. The lyrics I wrote down are, "I should have thrown myself across his tracks. Stopped him from these vile attacks."
That's correct. Yes.
And I'm just like, what are you talking about doing? What are you gonna do? What did you think you should have done? Citizen's arrest? What are you talking about? Like, this is it's an insane idea. Like, and the first verse is especially disgusting, of course.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because he says, "We talked for hours without end about his latest story, how to deal with fame and glory. All the girls who adored him, catered to his every whim. Nothing he could lose. All he needed to do was choose." And it's kind of like, what? So your alternate history for what Harvey should have done here, rather than be a serial rapist, is choose girls that wanted him.
I settled down with one woman.
I actually think, not to defend James Dolan's lyrics here.
I appreciate that.
I'm serious. I am about the Holocaust.
But I think that's just poor lyricism in that's what they were talking about. Like, Harvey Weinstein would, like, call him and be like, "Which one of these girls that love me should I choose?"
That's fair enough.
Saying?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. Okay,
although, I will say, saved him from these vile attacks does kind of sound like James Dolan is still complaining about newspapers.
Yes.
But then as it keeps going, he says stopped him. He uses the word "stop" in two different ways here. He should have stopped him from these vile attacks. But then later he also says, "what of the others? In some way, all my brothers sitting on the very top could not hear the call to stop."
This, and to me, kind of like, this verse is worse than that first verse.
I guess now that you think about it, yeah, it is worse because I'm trying to understand again what he's trying to advocate for here. It sounds like he's saying, "Listen, guys, just stop all this. Just stop doing it."
Well, to me,
stop
jerking off into a houseplant, or else I'm going to have to throw myself on you and stop you.
To me, what this verse is saying is like, if only us and all our rich guy friends would known, we could have talked him into not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. It's insane. It's like everyone's just like, "Oh man, if you'd only just stop doing it, then everything will be fine."
Yeah.
It's not like raping someone is already a crime. Like, it's not about like, just stop doing it and everything will be okay. It's like, no, you've already done it. Justice should be served upon you now.
I know.
There's also a truly vile line where he goes, We believed and didn't see through the lies he told us all that led him to his endless fall. As if the lies are what the problem were, not the, multiple horrible rapes.
Yeah,
Stretching
right.
back
Exactly.
decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah, decades. We know what he is. We know what he is. It's just that this is his attempt to cleanse himself. Like this is like if that time that Quentin Tarantino talked about it was turned into a musical number. Like it's really, really, it's
so gross. Bob,
I have nothing to say about the music except the vocal production on this album and on this song in particular is so bad. He sounds brittle and distorted on the track. Like it's like this is a badly produced album, especially for the vocals. Like but then again, who could do anything with James Dolan's voice? I guess, but
it sounds like he recorded it in whatever the recording studio version of like a water birth is.
Bob, you were texting me as you were listening to this song again.
Yeah, I was.
So
I was.
I'm just gonna say, go off, King.
I was enraged. This made me legitimately angry because aside from his justification for not stopping his friend, even if like he and a whole bunch of like retired septuagenarian dentists had gotten together and formed a posse to somehow get him to change his ways in some like fucking shithead intervention. All of that aside, what made me so mad is he did fucking know. He did know.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did.
James Dolan was on the board of the Weinstein Corporation from 2015 to 2016. In 2015, it was publicly reported that Harvey Weinstein had sexually assaulted an Italian model in a hotel room. That model went so far as to wear a wire to record Harvey Weinstein. Mm-hmm. They had him dead to rights, but of course Harvey Weinstein used all the same black ops tactics that he used to shut down every other person and got the New York DA to not press charges.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, James Dolan, did you miss this giant international scandal in 2015 when you joined the fucking board? Did you quit the board as a result of the head of the Weinstein Company being charged with clearly committing sexual or allegedly committing sexual assault? While that was being publicly reported, he absolutely knew. There is a lawsuit, which as far as I can tell, is still pending, charging James Dolan as a member of that board with 6 plaintiffs for not doing anything because they knew.
Also, you did know about Isaiah Thomas and keep hiring him.
Yeah.
Yes! You have a long storied history of repeatedly. He rehired Isaiah Thomas to run the New York Women's Basketball League team.
Yeah.
I will also say this. Part of the reason he didn't do anything was to keep the placement of JD and the Straight Shot songs in Weinstein Company films.
Yeah,
It's possible that I Should Have Known originally started as something that he was really hoping to get into, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
The Ouroboros is really, really revealing itself here. The snake is eating its own tail right before our eyes.
So I'm going to say that, look, this is I said the song before was the worst song on the album, which
No, this is it. This is the worst song.
No, but what I'm going to say is that's because I recuse this song because this is the worst song ever written about anything ever.
I really think we should check on the Trayvon Martin song before we make a
We're going to do that album later, probably. Look, this quarantine's going to happen is going to happen a long time. And I think periodically we should all get together and just review JD and the Straight Shot albums.
Yeah, check with your listeners. See if that sounds like a good idea for them. If they're down, I'm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, this song is very clearly. Sean, what do you have to say about this song that hasn't been said? Anything?
I mean, I don't really have anything
Yeah.
new.
We've said a lot about this song.
Is
actually.
like, I hate the chorus musically and lyrically, though. It's like my least favorite kind of just. I should have known. Also, I definitely think this is a reused melody that was supposed to be about like, James Dolan remembering almost getting a hand job. I think that's like what it originally was, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta comment."
So, Sean, what famous Knicks? I'm sure we have the same guy here. What famous Knicks fan is this?
I think it's Harvey Weinstein.
It's Harvey Weinstein.
Oh,
right?
I was gonna say Woody Allen. It's Woody Allen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, Woody.
Spencer, what grade did you give this?
Actually, a B plus. This song gets a not applicable. I think it's F. I mean, it's an F, but it's a non-applicable.
It's like actually has to be ruled by like the Hague, not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Bob, which New York Knick is I should have known?
To me, this is Nick Great, Andrea Bargnani.
Yeah.
Not to imply that Andrea Bargnani is a sex criminal.
It's just it was a disaster. The Bargnani thing was just a complete disaster.
Yeah, that's my answer.
All right, on to track 6, which is called Bees.
Topical.
And I'll play some of that right now.
'Cause bees can give you honey, but honey, they can sting you too.
My only note on the song Bees is I'm out on the first line.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, basically, which is, well, first of all, hearing I Should Have Known for the first time, and then like, having it go, dealing with the low-grade PTSD from that, while the next song starts, and I don't even remember what the exact line is, but he just says bees. Like, he just, like, the first thing he does is just go bees, and I'm just like, bees? Well, that's a sort of sequencing whiplash there. Like,
but then it's like one of those songs where it's like honey. He's just like constantly talking about like bees make the honey.
Yeah, that's the lyric I wrote down is bees can give you honey, but honey, they can sting you too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like
wordplay.
My first 3 words of my notes are kinda hate this. I was kind of trying to figure it out. Like bees are a metaphor, and for any other band, like you would get the sense that bees are a metaphor for like, oh, don't sleep with that lady because you know she's gonna get back. You know, it's you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what you're getting into. But then like his energy and his persona as the vocalist of this band is so bloodless.
Yeah.
Like, he never sounds like he's singing about sex, even though he probably usually is.
This song feels like it's actually about bees when he's singing.
That's what I'm saying, is that it's like, I guess it's a metaphor for, quote, like, difficult women, unquote, but, like, it's actually about bees if you kind of take his tone.
Yeah.
Like, his tone is very literal, and it's very, very confusing and befuddling. Boring riff. That's it.
Way boring. Way boring. This song is so boring. Bob, anything you got to say about bees?
My notes are, this is a song you play for a group of bored second graders, and the kids start chanting for Raffi within 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sean, anything
it.
you have to say about bees?
I mean, I on my notes I wrote down fiddle dee dee. But this was like a song where they had nothing, and they're just like, "You guys are session musicians. Figure something out, right?"
Yeah.
I hate pretty much any song that's about honey. I would say, as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's very forgettable. I will read you what countrylowdown.com said in their review.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm glad.
Claiming
Thank you.
they'd never heard of James Dolan before. At times during this song, James's vocals remind me of a cross between Julian Cope and Ian Maka McCullough of Echo and the Bunnymen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no.
No.
Julian
No.
Cope got fucking name dropped in a review of JD and the Straight Shot?
For some
I don't
reason,
even know where to
this
begin.
is credited to Kate Willis, and then it says review by Roger Sharman in the very first one.
That's not a real person.
Roger
Roger
Sharman.
Brawny is not a real person.
And even with this extremely positive review, it ends with this. Now, would I go out and buy it? In all honesty, probably not. But it has been well put together, and I appreciate the musicianship throughout the album. But I'm not here to sell it. I'm here to offer my opinion on it. We all have different tastes, so it's certainly worth giving a listen and making your own mind up about it. So basically, that album is The Great Divide. This review
I was just going to say, I appreciate the both sides perspective on this record. I also
did
just
you
have to
like
mention
this
once
music?
again.
It's still like, gotta hear both sides of this album.
I also have to mention once again, since Julian Cope was mentioned by this reviewer, anyone who's listening right now who doesn't know who Julian Cope is, please look up Julian Cope. He might be the diametric opposite in every single possible way to James Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a human no less similar to James Dolan than Julian Cope, who is a mystical pagan. He's a pagan.
Yeah, I would say he's a pagan.
A warrior poet, a shaman, if you will.
Yeah.
By the way,
incredible.
I don't know if speaking of shamans, I don't know if you noticed this on Twitter at some point. I'm going to say a week ago, it was revealed that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has in his safe space has
a Doors poster,
a giant Jim Morrison Doors poster.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it's his room. It's his study. There appears to be some kind of treadmill and a computer and some books and some assorted weightlifting equipment and an extremely large Jim Morrison poster.
Jim Morrison might be the exact halfway point between James Dolan and Julian Cope.
And all I can think about is that great Kids in the Hall sketch where the guy tells him to go steal a car because he needs to go to Morrison Hotel.
Yeah.
I love that.
Even if you have a car, you have to steal a car.
I have a car. Steal a car.
Sean, which famous New York's Knicks fan is Bees?
I thought it was like really generic. I'm going with Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, interesting. I went even more generic than that. I think it's Edward Burns from the Brothers McMullen. Spencer, what letter grade did you give Bees?
D+.
And on a side note, I had some friends of mine in high school were actual like musicians and had a ska band.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very like they played at CB's. They played at CBGB's.
Mm-hmm.
I went a couple times and did some graffiti on the walls of the bathroom. I was really cool. But in any case, they were all taking AP Music Theory my senior year, and I don't know why, but I took it too. I remember absolutely nothing from AP Music Theory, except for the fact that that the teacher used to, as in one of the more dad jokes of all time, he would say, "You have to be sharp and be positive. Don't be flat."
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
What famous what Knicks player is Bees, Bob?
To me, Bees is just in this ode to the letter B. It's Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis is utterly he's like the only interesting thing about Bobby Portis is him breaking Nikola Mirotic's jaw eye socket last year, and aside from that, there's just nothing notable about it.
I like it. Makes sense. All right, our next track is called Anything But Love.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds a little something like this.
I can give you diamonds, I can give you pearls. We can go traveling all over the world. Anything you wish for, if it makes you glad. Only one thing I wish I had. I can give you anything but love.
All right, Spencer, you're up. What did you have to say about Anything But Love?
The pitch correction is really kicking in on this tune. He's really having a tough time with these melodic contours, and the computer is helping out. Not to say that pitch correction is a problem. I use it. Probably everybody who's used a computer to make a pop song has used it. But it's more about the evident nature of it that I'm discussing here. The chorus is in that more kind of adult contemporary Fleetwood Mac style, which doesn't really offend my ears. But the song, of course, is abysmal. I hate how he sings. He's using the words sugar and spice, satin and lace. I can give you diamonds, and you know what else I can give you? Pearls. That's right. I can also give you pearls. Prince. Once Prince did owned that cliche for the rest of time in 1991. It was no longer legal to write about giving diamonds or pearls to anybody. But it's one of those other songs that feels kind of like, he seems like he's trying to maybe talk about himself. Seems
that's
somewhat...
what I wanted to bring up, actually, is if this were a song by any other band, I would just be like, yeah, okay, this is your typical, male, female, relationship song, but because it's a song that's written by a billionaire who is constantly saying, I can buy you anything. He says, at one point, I believe he says something about going into genie mode and making all her wishes come true.
Yeah, he can be a genie for her.
And then he says, but I can give you anything but love. And then the woman goes, all I've ever wanted was love.
Yep.
Knowing that it's a song by a billionaire really changes how you would feel about this song, I feel like.
Yes, I agree. It's abysmal no matter what, but it really does, it seems, coming from James Dolan, even from what I knew about him at the time, it seems somewhat sad and an attempt at quote-unquote self-awareness. But to what end?
It's very... I felt like it was really gross. This was my second least favorite song on the album, outside of I Should Have Known. Any of the love songs, I was just like, nope. Anytime he started singing.
Because he's like, listen, we're gonna have a great time, you and me, but if you want something from me that isn't in just
that can't be picked up with Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, heedless flaunting of wealth, then you're on your own, lady.
Bob, what did you think of this one?
This is, I think, when I started to leave my body. So I just kept getting really disturbed by the the backup singers crooning "Never Wanted Anything" or however they sung it. I don't even remember. It just, for some reason, the backup singing is what really.
It's sad.
Really
it bums me out.
Yeah, this is the song that made me feel the worst for the women in this band. Like, I know they're adults and they're getting paid and making choices, but this is the one where I was like, man, this has got to be one of the worst jobs.
And you know, Dolan thinks this song is so clever. That's the other thing that really hit me, where he's like, yeah, the man singing, I could give her anything but love, but then the woman, all she wants is love. It's like O. Henry, but the blues.
It's like Meatloaf, but without any sense of energy or humor whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, which New York Knicks fan is this?
Gosh, I think it's Ben Stiller.
I was gonna say the same thing. Spencer, what letter grade did you give Anything But Love?
It's a C-. You know, again, that adult contemporary chorus thing does not offend me personally the way it does other people, maybe, but like, just the whole existence of it doesn't. You know,
oh yeah, I'd like to also mention that this was my least favorite James Dolan vocal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's bad.
It's really bad. I mean, I still
not my least favorite though.
I still think for me, Invisible was the worst. But all right, vocal. Bob, which New York Knick is Anything But Love?
Anything But Love is Knicks backup combo guard Ron Baker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this tracks to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Knicks backup, who signed as an undrafted free agent from the same Wichita State team that also produced Fred Van Vliet.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had somewhat divergent careers in the big since then. And it's just there are a couple of reasons why it's Ron Baker. The first is Ron Baker was a quasi-functional guard during garbage time and the last 20 games of another failed season, and yet the Knicks still gave him the interim Knicks GM gave him a 2-year $9 million contract for no and
it's like a Chris Duhon special, but worse.
Yeah, Ron Baker. Now, granted, I think if you said to Ron Baker, "I could give you diamonds and I could give you pearls," he would be like, yeah, give me that. And I don't care about the love, because they really kind of did.
Right. He's also one of the most prominent children's book authors
among the Knicks community. Yes, absolutely.
You're never too small to dream big, I believe is the name of the title.
Yeah. All right. Ron Baker also last year got absolutely cold cocked by an elbow from Anthony Davis.
His face was a mess. All right. Finally, it's our second to last song that we're really going to have to talk about in depth, I think.
Good.
It's track 8, Take It Slow.
This was my least favorite song.
Well, here is a little clip for our listeners.
Don't understand, so I gotta take it slow. Slow. If it's gonna go somewhere.
I mean, to clarify, I should have known is the worst song on the album.
Of course, yeah. Spencer, let's talk about the music on Take It Slow.
God, albums can really feel long, you know? Mm-hmm. This is right around the point where I'm just like, they're in the extended home stretch here. It's a low key Roomba, I guess. It's one of those again, we're talking old school, late 90s, early 2000s, white people doing Latin music, quote unquote.
My only note is this is just Smooth by Santana.
I mean, it's so bad. And the only other thing I have to say is like regarding the lyrics, where it's about how it's one of those, clever songs where, you're setting up. I hate the whole set it up and knock it down of like, a songwriter who thinks he knows why he writes songs. It's like, starts out by talking about how she's got her ways. I love I love the couplet. She remembers, doesn't forget. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't just remember; she also doesn't forget. But
absolutely needed to tease that entire thought out to make sure the listener understands. Yes.
Yep. But what I love about it is that's setting up like, oh, you're talking about like her as a person. Like, sure, she's got like these she doesn't like men because of the specific relationship she's been in. So what's the perspective we're coming from here? Well, the chorus reveals that's why I have to take it slow with her because she's been probably abused or something like that. And so of course,
I met her through my friend Harvey.
So all I really want to do is fuck her, but like she's not that interested because she's damaged goods, you know what I mean? So like listen, I'm playing the long game here. Anyway, it's a disgusting song. It's another disgusting song by JD in this trade shot.
It's also, I would say, from a Knicks standpoint, he refuses to take actually building the Knicks slow, so he's really full of shit here. You know what I mean? He's the most impatient person ever. But Bob, what do you have to say about Take It Slow?
My notes are just my evidence-free thought as to the genesis of this song is that at some point, like James Dolan was like hanging out with his then drug dealer and trying to score, and the drug dealer was quasi-ironically playing the song "Bananas and Blow" by Ween, and years later, James Dolan remembered that incident and tried to copy it as best he could.
That's incredible.
Sean, Sean, you said this is your least favorite song on the album, besides the Weinstein one, obviously.
Yeah. It is.
Tell us why.
I would say that once the percussion started, I again said, "Oh no." I think I texted Joey that it was like a horny old man. Actually, hold on. Let me.
I can pull up the text.
It's like a horny old man's remake of Smooth, but backed by the Stray Gators. It's just like James Dolan's sexuality is so repellent, but for some reason the phrase "take it slow" was just like so. I don't know what it was about, like knowing that he moves so slowly anyway. And like really has just like a weird, creepy body.
He waddles. The man is a waddler.
But it's like, I think it's the most predatory sexual song on the album by far. And just the fact that he kind of lapses into, like, I don't know how I would describe the rhythm of this song, but Dolan definitely thinks he's giving it like a Latin Caribbean flair.
Yeah.
But he's also kind of like growling and drooling at the same time.
Yeah, I call that a low-key rumba, but it's like the lowest key rumba. Like it doesn't really qualify.
The more I think about it, the more I think that James Dolan is actually a Volcel. Like, I feel like the women that he convinces to attend games with him, so he looks like the kind of rich guy who has beautiful women who could be his granddaughter on his arm. And from listening to this album, like none of it feels like there's no actual pulse of human desire backing any of this, and that could entirely be attributed to his lack of skill. both as a singer and as a songwriter,
and as a lover.
But it just doesn't. It just feels like he knows what, from listening to enough other people's actual music, knows what the basic contours of not even love, actual desire are supposed to sound like or are supposed to be about. But as to whether he's actually experienced that, I have legitimate questions, let's just say.
He does have that muscle-bound son. We don't forget. James Dolan has a son who's a bodybuilder.
That's right. So he has had sex,
and he's going to inherit the team, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
No, they're gonna. My again, evidence-free opinion is that we're in the midst, especially now, even before this particular moment in history, we were on the verge of a sports team valuation bubble, all of which were propped up.
Oh, yeah.
All of which were held afloat because of TV rights. And there was going to be a serious financial reckoning to come when the contracts with the NBA and the NFL ran out mid-decade. Now, God, I had no idea. But, I mean, and I've said this before, James Dolan is a moron, but he's not stupid. And there have been a lot of rumors about him selling the Knicks. I mean, he already divided the Knicks and the Rangers and the teams from the venues that the Madison Square Garden network owns. And there is a real opportunity to sell. Now, before all this happened, he could have gotten easily, I think, between $5 and $6 billion for the Knicks alone. And if he were selling now, the only reason I think he would be inclined not to, and he in a statement announcing the firing of the team's prior president of basketball operations, he also had MSGPR slip in, "I am not selling the team," when no one was asking. But, methinks the lady doth protest too much, and I think he actually has been considering it. I think the current world affairs means that it would be a lot harder, probably, maybe, to find a buyer. But no, sad to say, I don't think the swole son of Dolan will be inheriting this largesse.
Swollen.
He is
swollen.
That is a unfit. That is a beefy lad. If you want to look him up on the internet.
Sean, what famous Knicks fan is the song "Take It Slow"?
Chris Brown.
Okay.
No,
I was gonna go Chaz Palminteri.
Chaz Palminteri in like a Cuban shirt.
Yeah, exactly. He just feels like a white guy who would want to do like the marimba, to seduce a woman. All right,
he's constantly inviting women to go salsa dancing, but he's not good.
But he's got like a great linen suit to do it. Yeah. All right, Spencer, what grade did you give?
That's a D.
Yeah. Seems right.
It's an F for me, by the
way. And Bob, what New York Knick is Take It Slow?
To me, it's beloved human rights champion Enes Kanter. Not for his off-court. Yeah, not for his off-court activities, which are incredibly brave, but for his general off-court demeanor and play, both of which are practically soaked in corn syrup and equally as nutrition free.
This also is like the song version of Hanging Out with the Clintons.
Yeah.
All right. Which Enes Kanter also does. All right. Let's talk about the last original on the album, track 9.
By the way, Enes Kanter, who I've met a couple of times, is a lovely person. By the way, I just want to make that clear.
Sure.
He seems like a good dude. His social media presence is just ridiculous.
His social media is ridiculous. So much of his antics are ridiculous. Like, he really would prefer to be a WWE wrestler, all things considered. But, like, he's a genuinely kind, person.
All right, track 9, Walking on a Wire. Here we go.
Gasoline and money is all that I need. A pair of long legs makes a blind man see. Chuck Berry sang it back in 63. Don't let your mama find you kissing Anna Lee.
All right, I'm gonna say this is the only one I wrote lyrics down for.
Can we talk about the cover of the album real quickly?
Sure. We're at 2:10 for how long this episode is, so we gotta be quick.
That it is a torn American flag.
It is a torn American flag.
It's so...
And it's got, like, weird... Anyway.
The Spotify album art has, like, cartoons of people screaming at each other, and and Lady Liberty on it.
It kind of looks like cartoons about, like, protests in the 60s, but definitely written by drawn by a very conservative person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a real what's his name? The Drew Garrison vibe to the bottom of that album.
Absolutely. But what I will say about the song "Walking on a Wire" is here's what I wrote down. This song truly sucks. It means nothing, and it more importantly contains the lyric, "Gasoline and money is all I need. A pair of long legs make a blind man see."
Here's
no,
the thing.
they don't. They really
It's
don't.
so rich and so horny.
Spencer,
my
go
turn
ahead.
Because
yes, it is your turn.
I just want to say, do we really have to talk about this song? I hate this song. I hate patter songs. You know what I mean? When it's like, you know, like that. Like I hate every song that does that. Every single one. And it's just about him being like anxious. You know, it sucks. I hate it. And the lyric I wrote down was Chuck Berry sang it back in '63. Don't let your mama catch you kissing Anna Lee. And I'm just like, you are now in the complete offensive mediocrity zone. Like this is a bad, unlistenable, stupid song. I don't like it. I hate it.
Also, he admits to doing cocaine on this song several times.
Yeah.
That's the only interesting part. He keeps saying white lines make him sin, I believe.
Yeah, which, again, spot the lie.
Yeah.
It's absolutely like a cokehead lyric from start to finish.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Sean, anything you got to say about Walking on a Wire?
I thought this was the most racist song on the album. Like an album where a lot of the songs sounded pretty racist.
Just from the sound of it, you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the patter, the lyrics, just like overall, because a lot of them, it's like, okay, this sounds like a rich, terrible white guy trying to act like he's of another race, and this one is like, yeah, the mask is completely off.
Yep.
All right, I think that's all we have to say about this terrible song, right? Except, Sean, what famous Knicks fan is Walking on a Wire?
Matt Lauer.
See, I thought this was straight Michael Rappaport.
Also true.
Yeah, it's fair.
Spencer, what letter grade did you give this song?
That's a D.
And Bob, what?
I don't have a Knicks player for this one. I just want to add to the famous Knicks fan. To me, this is tweaked out, like fucking grifter Gary Vaynerchuk, who is a consistent presence courtside and is just has been pushing some of the most useless crap onto the world and getting rich off it for the longest fucking time.
All right, let's run through these covers real quick. The next track 10, is a inexplicable cover of "Happy Together" by the Turtles.
I have no idea why you would include this song, especially when you sing like that.
So wait, I gotta play a clip real quick. Here we go.
I can't see loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and
Yeah, I don't know why this is on here. Spencer,
this is
you've put albums together. Why is there a cover of the Turtles Happy Together here?
So, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about set lists, like live set lists, because he likes, his band plays out, so to speak. I didn't know this would be a cover, but I was afraid it was going to be from the title and the track list, and it was. I understand performing this live, not because this is a good person to be performing the song, because it isn't, but at the very least, again, if you got a cover in your set, you've got something that people can sink their teeth into to some degree. Why would we want a JD and the Straight Shot interpretation of any previously recorded song on recording, let alone this song? This is unsurprisingly the worst vocal performance on the album. What is this? Did you guys? I know, Bob, you said you didn't necessarily get through all the length of every song. Did you guys all get through the end of this song?
I did, yeah.
I did, but I didn't. The second time, I did not listen to both the covers all the way through.
Because he gets to the, as we can all recall, this ends with a bunch of long, straight-held notes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what this song ends with.
I'll play that right now.
So happy together. So happy together. So happy together.
Yeah. It's not good.
If anyone is unclear on what autotune can do to a human voice, this is Exhibit A. Like, this is that is the setting autotune turned on to its maximum capability. That's just what it is. It's not like T-Pain where it's like a choice. It's clearly trying to fix something.
Yeah.
Like, we can't release this unless we turn this up as high as we possibly can.
Starts to sound like it's malfunctioning.
What I'll say about this is this is a song historically that has a million terrible covers of it. And
I know.
I think this is the worst one I've ever heard.
Yes.
The Weezer one is a hoot.
I mean, certainly, by comparison, Weezer, every recorded Weezer song is like, a godsend.
Bob, anything you want to say about this cover?
I was pleasantly surprised by this, just because after listening to 9 songs that really no other human being could produce, it was nice to hear. It was nice to hear even a bad version of a song that seemed to work musically. So I found that a nice refreshing break.
Sean, anything you want to say about this cover of So Happy Together?
No, just the song choice is more baffling than the actual recording.
Yeah, I would say.
Agreed.
Oh, and the Knicks fan that this is Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And also, I should say, my least favorite song on the album.
Oh,
is
interesting.
Happy Together.
All right, and finally, I think we can all agree this was the best song on the album.
Oh my god, what a relief.
It's a cover of the Allman Brothers Band's Jessica. Which involves no James Dolan singing in it. It's not a particularly good cover.
I'm going to say he's not playing guitar either.
No, it's a mandolin heavy cover of Jessica. Can we all agree that it's the best song on the album?
Yeah.
Now, in the video does show him at least miming the actions of playing guitar. Mm-hmm. This is another one where I mistakenly clicked on like the music video version.
Yeah, I have a little bit to say about this, just a little bit. I don't want to drone on about it, but I was relieved when it was an actual cover of Jessica, just seeing the title, because I am aware of the song's reputation as being a famous instrumental, and I was really happy about that. I also really like the song Jessica. It's a nice composition. It's a savvy choice for TV placement. I gotta say, if he's still got a line open with his buddies at AMC, which he controls apparently, this will probably end up somewhere. In a desert scene or something. The solos are firmly in the category of competent, but I cannot say I enjoyed them. Mandolin wise, David Grisman is not in the building with us today. Violin solo wise, Jean-Luc Ponty is not anywhere near the building with us today. These are not good solos, but they're fine. They're totally fine. And I'm guessing, actually, you know, Sean, you mentioned that you don't think he's playing the guitar. I think he is playing the guitar on this song. But here's why I think that. It's because this is an acoustic cover of a famously electric song. The melody is extremely simple to play, actually, if you have a pretty basic understanding of the instrument. So he's probably playing the lead part. The acoustic guitar kind of chugling thing that like keeps the song really going, that would be more difficult. I don't suspect he's doing that. I think he's doing the pretty plunky lead part. It's way more easy to imagine him doing that on an acoustic guitar than an electric guitar, because the electric guitar, and finally I can actually talk about something musically here. The electric guitar requires more finesse and like tone understanding to really get what the Allman Brothers get out of a song like Jessica. Like, you know, to play that duet, like it really has to be done expertly to be convincing. To do it on an acoustic guitar, it does not have to be done expertly, I think. and so it makes sense that they would choose this for the acoustic record. But yeah, a relief, B-.
Is somebody microwaving something?
Yeah, me. Sorry, I'm fucking really hungry.
I wish that was I kind of wish I was listening to Jessica and then the sound of a microwave turned on like halfway through it, because that would be a very appropriate addition.
I think that's the best place to end this, is Bob's microwave.
Also, that song is John McEnroe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I was also going to say.
Why
that's
was
for
it
sure
7.5 minutes long? They did not need it. You've made it that far.
Bob, what would you like to plug?
Is he with us?
Nope.
He's not with us.
He's not with us. Let's go with Sean. What would you like to plug?
We got some stuff on Yard. I have a thing about free agency on Yardbarker. Also, I was on a couple episodes of the Quarantine Cast, but I would say check out the one with me and Katie Heindel.
It's a really good episode.
Nice. Can I plug now?
Yeah, Bob Silverman. What would you like to plug?
Yeah. There's an article that just went up a couple days ago where I got to talk to Mike Francesa about his...
Dude, it's so tight. It's so good. Everyone should read it.
Oh, God. It was
Resistance leader Mike Francesa.
Yeah. And there's an article which I think is running soon where I spoke with Al Harrington about his weed company, and that'll be up soon.
He is a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a sweet guy. I did this interview back on a while ago. This is an article coming to you from the before times.
Spencer, tell the listeners where they can hear from Spencer Owen Timeshare.
My Bandcamp page is spencerowen.bandcamp.com. Standard spelling. I am, I just kind of wrapped up my band Spencer Owen Timeshare. We were together from 2012 to 2020. We're putting out something new this year, to kind of send us off, but, please at that Bandcamp page or on Spotify or any other music service you have, listen to, Spencer Owen Timeshare album Presentation. That's, as Joey mentioned, the most recent thing I've done, and I'm proud of it. And I'm not on Twitter, but I'm on Instagram, SO Timeshare. And I'm excited to read this Mike Francesa article. It looks really interesting.
And then as for me, you can always follow me on Twitter at Frankie Muniz, where on March 10th, 2015, I tweeted, "Why does it take me drinking half a glass of something before I realize it's gone bad? Mold?
Best Twitter account online.
Mold should be easier to sense. Iced tea goes bad?"
That tweet is so full.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Shut it down. Let's go home. But before you go, here's a good song by Spencer Owen to wash the taste out of everybody's mouth from the Dolan episode. Bye.
Bye.
Just because I'm laughing, you think I'm well, but it's really the other way around. In a sense, I rely on the country, but in another, it really drags me down. Then I accept the call.